Do inanimate objects like rocks, atoms, or Megan Fox have a subjective point of view? Okay, strap in, because this is going to be a bit of a mindfuck. Our world is subjective. We've discussed this before. The world is the world as we see it, not as it really is. And that image is a mental reconstruction, a user interface of what's really around us. So we can never think of the world from the point of view of an objective observer, like God, but only as seen from inside our human minds. Because even if you're pretending you're a god and you try and picture the whole universe, all you're doing really is imagining that you're floating in space, looking through your own mind, through your own very human eyes. But when we think of non-living objects, we tend to think of them as external, not just to our minds, but to everything. Because they have no consciousness, they don't have an inner life. We don't imagine them as having an internal point of view. So if you picture two atoms crashing together, you picture two balls seen from the outside. Balls. You can't imagine the world from inside an atom. The atom doesn't look out into the universe. Yet the view from inside the atom is the only one that makes sense to me. Because without it, that means that unless there's someone who's conscious to observe those two atoms, do they even exist? Something surely needs to be there to register those atoms, to be a witness to the atoms happening, to be impacted by them somehow. Otherwise, what does it even mean that something happens if nothing is there to witness it? In philosophy, there's this idea of manifest image, the idea that we only interact with a small part of reality and then we create that user interface I was telling you about. But all organisms have biological sensors and reactions that allow them to respond only to certain features of their environment. So, things that are nourishing or that are dangerous or that are sources of food or reproduction or that are potential predators, etc. But non-living things do this too, right? Proteins, amino acids, but also atoms and particles, they all react differently to different things in their environment. They possess some internal property, internal note, that allows them to recognize and differentiate between external objects. And we see that in the different ways an atom bonds and reacts with different things. They have inner processes. Atoms act. So they have to have some kind of internal life almost. Could it be that anything, even atoms, have some form of manifest image or subjectivity, just like bacteria? I don't want to call it consciousness, because that, it involves some form of awareness. So instead of a point of view, I would call it a point of existence. The atom exists, it's doing things, there's a point from which that atom happens, from which it acts, from which it exists. A point of existence. And this is a picture of a world where everything is active, responsive, and filled with inner vibrancy and being, each thing existing and acting in its own way. And that's what I mean by the subjectivity of atoms. Subjectivity is all that exists. There can't be any objectivity. The world is simply the world from the point of existence of you, of me, of a cat, or a rock, or an electron, or even Megan Fox.